Yo, what's up everyone? Kyrios here, and today I want to talk about Yukong. She's a brand new 4-star that's coming out in 1.1, and we've been able to have an early look at her, and we've seen some gameplay footage on YouTube. So now we have a good understanding of how she's going to work, where she's going to fit in the meta, and we haven't really seen stats, but we can give a pretty good early estimate. If you guys can't hit that like and subscribe. Okay, so I think a lot of people are excited about Yukong, but she has some fundamental issues, or at least as of right now in the early part of the game. So let's go ahead and talk about her kit. So Yukong is a imaginary style character that is pseudo sub DPS and also a support at the same time. Now she has an ability called Roaring Bowstring, meaning that whenever she does her skill, she's going to get 2 stacks of Roaring Bowstring, as you can see in the bottom of your character's design in the bottom left hand corner. Now the good part and the bad part about Roaring Bowstring is that it buffs the crit rate and crit damage of the allies that go after her while that buff is active, and when they use their Q or their E or their ultimate, it's going to increase the damage of that ally. Now the problem that we run into here is that you need your DPS to go after her. All right, cool. That sounds like it's absolutely correct, and it's a decent amount of crit rate and crit damage. But the problem that we run into is that you're going to have to speed tune her very appropriately. Now, in the end game, you're going to speed tune no matter what, but we are not even close to the end game, even for those of us that have refresh that are TL60 plus. Speed tuning comes a lot later in the gameplay and a lot later when there's a lot harder content where you need to be perfect on your rotations. So as of right now, this is going to be a very hard ability to use, because if for some reason she goes after your main DPS and someone like your Bailu and your Japard use the bowstring, it's really not going to help out your team. So you need to make sure that she's going before it all the time. And a little bit of spoiler till later in the video, make sure you guys stay tuned. She's a little Eidolon dependent. There's a specific Eidolon or 2 that makes it so she's absolutely can keep the bowstring up for your main DPS, and we'll get into that in just a minute. Now there's another perk of Yukong that I really like, and that perk is that she has the ability to do double the amount of break effect. Well, we don't know if it's actually double. We don't have the actual metrics in front of us, but if we were to assume every character has 1 break effect, right? You do normal break effect where you do like half the bar or whatever. Yukong can effectively do 2 break effects. This is especially good, and this is the first time we've seen a character do this, and it's especially good for Imaginary that is really good at dealing with debuffs, breaking shields, and pushing the enemy back. So this is going to be the first time I ever suggest that you should probably build her as break effect. Yes, I said it. You're going to do it as sub DPS with break effect, because if she's honestly putting up that amount of break and she's going really quickly, she's going to be able to keep the enemy broken, and she's going to be able to push the enemy back, and she's going to do a nice burst amount of damage. This especially works well with like Silver Wolf. If you built an Imaginary team, say you had like Welt or the new Awakened Dan Heng with Yukong, maybe some other, maybe you have Losha in there, right? You have some combination of those 4 characters, and then you put Silver Wolf in there, and now everyone's always weak to Imaginary damage, and she's just going to break constantly. The biggest fault of her is that she's not AoE at all. She's only single target. Now, she does have a technique that allows her to move faster in the maps, but honestly, if you're pulling her for her technique to run fast across the maps, which are already minuscule to begin with, I don't know how to help you. Like, seriously, like, is that really the reason you're pulling? I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe Sonic gotta go fast, right? Vroom. All right, so that's pretty much the base kit. We know that she increases attack. We know that she increases crit damage. We know she increases crit. And the problem that I have is that she seems a little restrictive. Now, unfortunately, we do not have the footage of any of the Eidolons that she has or any of the other quote-unquote dynamics of her trace tree. But there are some leaks out there, but we're not going to cover leaks on this channel. But I will say this, is as of right now, if there's not a way that you can super enhance your bowstrings, aka by doing an ultimate or by going fast enough or getting ally interactions or something like that in the Eidolon tree, she's going to be extremely restrictive to use. And I have a feeling that she's just not going to be good at E0. I mean, is she going to be good overall because she increases all those things? Yes, of course. Everyone wants more crit damage, attack, and crit rate. Absolutely perfect. But unless you're running an Unga Bunga team, which we'll talk about here in just a second with doing some team comps, I'm just not the biggest fan of her kit right out the gate. And I think she's going to require some more characters later in order to better utilize her kit. So I think she's going to be very Eidolon restrictive, and I'm sure there's some footage out there that you guys can go find and figure that out, where she's probably going to need some high Eidolons in order to do more damage and to get maybe more bowstrings. So, but that's really my 2 cents on the Eidolons that she has without, diving into leaks that we don't do on this channel. So if we're quickly looking at team building here, Yukong, I'm just not sold on her right now. You could put her with someone like, with your 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉, or instead of 𝙀𝙓, you can do someone with like your Jingyuan, and it's going to work out pretty appropriately, where you can kind of speed tune them appropriately to an extent, right? And maybe someone like 𝙀𝙓, where you can use 2 bowstrings in one, assuming you get the reset, and the reset allows you to use 2 bowstrings in one. But having multiple turns might not be the best thing. Like, for example, if you pull someone like Xusheng in there, Xusheng's able to go 3 times in a single turn sometimes. So how does that work, right? You're going to scale into an ultimate, you'll use 2 bowstrings, and then your final skill is not going to have a bowstring. It ends up being a little bit awkward. And in all honesty, we just have really good supports right now. So I think if you were to build like a mono imaginary team, right? And I know that we don't have some of the other like Awakened Dan Heng. We don't even know if that's going to be a thing, right? And you did someone like Silver Wolf in here. You did like a mono imaginary team. This would actually probably work. And this would be a really interesting setup, a really interesting design, but not one I would really go after. I think you're really putting all your eggs in one basket, and that's really kind of hurting your team building potential. And the problem that I have is that you already have great supports like Bronya and Tingyu and Asta, and Asta already does a good amount of break effect. And there's already good buffs across the board, and these buffs you can control, right? So we can control exactly when they happen, how we want to pump them out, how we want to use our ultimates, how we want to buff them. And I think that comes down to it, is that having buffs that you can control compared to buffs you can't control with speed tuning is probably going to be the issue. So as of right now, I would not pull Yukong specifically. I would not pull on the Luocha banner just to get Yukong. If you get her as a side, cool, because you're pulling Luocha anyways. But if you're going to pull on that banner because you want to get Yukong, that is not a good reason to pull the banner. And as of right now, we need a little bit more details in order to really see where she fits in the meta. I think her ultimate should have been AoE, and that would have really solidified where she is in a lot of the different teams. But since she's single target and you got a speed tuner, I don't think it's worth it in the beginning part of the game. Maybe later in the game, in 6 months, 8 months, it'll be a lot better. But that's my review of her. Hopefully you guys liked it. Hit me up in the comments down below if you have any questions, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy, and fist bump from me to you.